bottom of the river. The devil has come to carry me home, lay me at the bottom of the river.
John Daly, winner of two major championships, the 1991 PGA and the 1995 Open Championships, has one of the most recognizable swings in golf. He has only won 5 times in the PGA Tour, but despite the lack of wins compared to other legends of the game, his loyalty to his fans and relatable lifestyle easily makes John one of the most loved golfers of all time. Tiger was quoted as saying that if he had John's talent, he would have won many more majors than he has done already. Easily recognized today by his loudmouth apparel, John's swing is timeless and just reiterates his natural ability to play the game extremely well for a long period of time. In today's video, we will compare his swing, which covers 30 years, and take a look at how great things should never be tinkered with. Today, we take a look at the longevity and stability of the great John Daly. Ladies and gentlemen, Lion Golf Academy, welcome back, and this is John Daly, one of my favorite players that ever played this game. I scoured the internet. I can find these two videos that are somewhat the same angle. They're not identical angles, but we're going to look at a couple of things that he's keeping in common now. Keep in mind, this is about 20 years of difference between the left video and the right video. And after we look at this comparison, we're going to do a full face-on and down the line view. We're going to look at how he makes this swing work. So left side of the screen, what we can tell already is the setup slight changes. We can see his arm hang is a little bit lower on the left side, and I believe it's partly due to this little addition over time, and as a result we see the left side, the lower plane line is running through his lower belly, the right side is kind of in his midsection. So that's a couple of differences that we see, but the comparisons that we're going to look at over 20 years is how this man still moves his body. So left side of the screen, we can already see that he definitely pulls that club inside, and the same on the right side, we can see that club pulling way inside, but this was his trigger. So you can see that club is pointing in similar positions here, and he counteracts that by lifting his right elbow up in the sky, a la Jack Nicklaus. And what he's doing here is he's really rolling his hands open, and he has some hand manipulation from this point through impact as well to counteract that. The soft right hand grip, you can always see that right index finger a little bit further away than his other fingers, almost like he's going to get ready to pull a trigger. And this is one thing that boggled most top level talent of his day, just how little he practiced and how he's able to hit the golf ball. So this is extreme. So let's move a little bit further. Let's go to the midsection right about here. You can see the club now is falling right in between those two plane lines. Right elbow is tucked into the right side of the body. As we get to the top of this motion here, this is the closest we can get with this video, but the right elbow is still tucked in the right body. Club is pretty close to those plane lines. Now this is the one thing that he separates himself from most tour players, is his arm disconnection from his core. So from this point of view, you can see there's not much more turn, but look at that club. That club just gets lifted up and way past parallel, and he doesn't do that with his turn. So this is the separation with his hands and his arms and his right elbow. You see that right elbow flying up there, and that's to help get that extra length of his swing. Right side of this view, we can still see that same old motion, very similar positions. If we want to be a little bit nitpicky, we can see that the one on the left goes back a little bit further than the one on the right. Now obviously it could just be the angle, but it could also be a little bit of age. But for a man in his 50s to be able to turn this much and still time it, it's very, very impressive. Now the transition is John Daly's most famous move, and I'll show you why. Left side of the screen, we start transitioning with the body. So we see him dipping down. What he's doing is he's getting ready to jump back up, but he is going down. Just like most athletic sports, you want to go down then back up. You want to jump as high as you can. You don't just jump from a standing position, you bend down, then jump back up. So along with that, you can see that right elbow pulling back down in front of his body. And on the right side of the screen, we can see a similar motion here. Not as much right elbow pull down, but it's still pretty good. Watch that right elbow on the left side of the screen. Look how the right elbow just falls right in line. So he has to maintain his posture. You can see he's doing a great job maintaining his posture. Weight distribution is doing really good. Transferring the weight from his right toe to his left heel. This allows him to stay in that posture and provide the room for his right elbow to drop in the slot. Similar positions here. We can see that right elbow really dropping in the slot as well, even though he has put on a little bit of extra weight down here, as we all do as we age. Go one more frame, and we can see a slight little difference here. We can see that right shoulder dipping down a little bit more versus the one on the right side, and I attribute this to a slight more flexible motion, a little less weight to deal with, providing more room to get that right shoulder underneath. But the most important thing is once he clears that right side on the way through is his release point. So we'll see in the next video when it's a slow motion swing, we can see how he actually times that release. We're going to go post impact, and post impact we can start to see a little bit of similarities here. Definitely whole body's facing the target. Look at that footwork. Right foot is up in the air, left foot is receiving all the weight. Definitely rotation, staying in the spine angle. And post release we can see that club working its way up on that top plane line. On the right side we can see it kicking a little higher, but you know what, I think this is mostly due to the angle of the video. But the comparison between these two videos with some 20 years difference, all the rotation, all that stored power, but his power comes from big body turn, but also separating and then reconnecting his upper plane, which is all arms and hands. So let's now take a slow motion video face on down the line and explain how he does this. Here's a more detailed video, slow motion, so we can see how his hands start to manipulate. Let's look at that setup already. Left side of the screen, we can see the hands are definitely in line with the chest and as well as the head. Slight bit of forward press. That golf ball, if you were to set up with a more neutral position, that golf ball should be in line where that line is pointing. So his golf ball, in essence, is slightly behind his center. But because he uses his hands and arms a lot more, I believe that this is necessary for his setup. This is probably the most talented player who has ever played this game because he doesn't really practice as much as the other guys and girls, and he's still able to dominate at this elite level for so long and keep his swing up. So let's learn something from that. Right side of the screen, we can see that club shaft goes right through the belly. He's always had more of an upright stance. He's not as low as today's modern day players where it's at 90 degrees. Even as he was younger, when he was thinner and back in the early 90s, he would stand almost upright. So right side of the screen, we're at the club halfway back. We're going to draw that line just to show you. And we can definitely see some hand manipulation already, rolling those hands open, and that gets that club very low. And on the right side of the screen, we can see those hands rolling open. And look at where that club head is. It's nowhere near where you would technically like it to be. But again, as long as the body's doing the correct job, hands and arms are going to be very independent. So keep that in mind for you guys and girls at home watching. Only focus on your body, and then you can focus on your hand and arm position. But the key thing is his hands are right in that lower plane line. Still a nice width. We can see that triangle forming on the left side. It's going to be still connected to his chest. So all he's really done is turn, and we can tell that by that right hip joint. Nothing has moved over that right hip brace line. It's just staying right against it, and his right hip's getting close to the target, which shows that he is still turning and maintaining his spine angle. We can see that spine angle hasn't shifted at all. Right side of the screen, let's go a little bit further back, and this is where he gets his club right in between the slot here. Pause that at the same similar position here. We can see that right arm starting to lift up a little bit. Now if you can just go ahead and stop your swing there, you probably hit it pretty straight, but your distance will be gone because his distance comes from what happens next. Let's go a little bit further back to the very top of the swing. Now if we look at the relationship between the turn and the club shaft, nowhere near to that tee. So this is a good visual for you. Look at how much turn he has. It's well past 90. The club is nowhere near parallel. So for everybody that's trying to get that club past parallel or at parallel, don't do it unless your shoulder turn is 130, 140 degrees. We're going to keep that frame there and just keep going forward. And let's take a look. So the turn stops. Look at his turn. It doesn't turn anymore, but look at how far those hands take that club back. He's gaining, what is that, 60 degrees of extra rotation, but he's not doing it with his body. He's doing it with his hands and arms. Something I don't recommend for average golfers to do because we don't have the timing and the gift of touch like he has. And I heard him say one time that he tries to get his hands back there so much that he can see that club head out his left eye, and clearly we can see that. I just almost pointing at the ground. Right side of the screen, we can see he gets that top plane line perfectly. This is where most of our modern players try and stop the swing, but not Mr. Daly. He keeps that thing going. Look at that right elbow. So the only way to get that club back there is that right elbow now has to fly up. If we draw his triangle with his arms, if he just pulls them straight down, we can see where that club is going to venture. So he has to do a lot of manipulation on the way down, which he does fantastically. And now in essence, he is trying to take his swing and utilize another lever. So this right elbow pulling it back is activating another lever. Something I don't recommend again is activating too many levers, because now you have 0.1 to 0.2 seconds trying to hit the golf ball and retime everything. So this is a very timing oriented swing. But the funny thing is he had a natural ability to do this. Now the transition is the most fun. So we can see the whole body's turning through. So look at this position here. And we're going to try and stop the right hand side of the screen in the same place. So, okay, similar position here. We can see that his body's starting to turn open, but the club is where most people have their club on their backswing. So we can see this force that he's generating. He's unwinding from the inside. He's coiling through, and eventually that coil gets down to his arms, but his arms are behind the game at this point. So he has to now do a little move. So take a look at the right side of the screen here. So here comes a little sit. So as he comes from this position here, if we draw a straight line down to the ground, we can see something has to be done or else he's not going to hit that golf ball correctly. So what does he do? He starts to turn. Look how high his hands are. So his hands are still in that upper plane line. That club head has to venture down to that lower plane line or maybe even below it to actually have a chance to hit this golf ball. So let's see what happens. As he comes on down through, his right elbow has to tuck even further. His right shoulder starts to dip under to allow that club to get to that lower plane line, and he gets there eventually. Right at the very end, you can see now that is a good position for him, giving him the best chance to now strike that golf ball while his body's still opening up. And you can see his head motion, it's gone down. His whole upper body's gone down. And remember, to jump up, you've got to go down. Left side of the screen, we're going to see that same position. We're going to see the body opening up. We can see a great angle here. Look how close that club shaft is to his head and his right shoulder. As he comes on down through, this is where his hands have to activate. So when the club is at parallel with the ground, the butt of the club should be somewhere on the right leg. We can see it's on the inside of his right leg, so he's got to get his hands to activate pretty quick. And from here to past impact, we're going to see a majority of this with the hands and arms. You can see that club face on the right side of the screen compared to his spine angle is definitely open, but that's because he rolled his hands on the way back. So this is where he releases his power, and his rolling of his hands and his activation of the hands are now delivering all the power that is stored in this tiny little angle on the left side of the screen. So as long as you conserve that angle, that's where you store your power. And the more you can store it, the hands and arms should release naturally because no human hand and arm is strong enough to hold that angle all the way through. It is going to release naturally. I can't get inside of John's head. I don't know if he thinks about throwing his hands or if it just happens naturally, but I would imagine there has to be some sort of thought process of throwing your hands at the golf ball because so much power is stored up and there's so little time to unleash it. So we see this not only delivering of the power perfectly at impact. We know it's perfect because the head's in the original position and his new spine angle is slightly ahead. And again, we only get that spine angle by keeping our head centered and driving our lower body and turning. So he's accentuated his right shoulder tilt down. We can see that green line on the top here was his starting position. This is his impact position. Now what that'll do is it'll also push your hands out further. So even though they're not connected, like you see some modern day players, they're slightly behind, but look at all the room he had to make up. So he's doing a pretty good job. But they started 6 degrees disconnected. So he's done a really good job. He's narrowed it down to 3 or 4 degrees of disconnection. But once we get past impact, this is where the hands release, and now they're starting to reconnect back in front of the chest. You see the toe rolling over, and there's that release point. So that long green line was his parallel line at the downswing. Red line is a parallel line past impact. Really good hand control, but it's all based because his hands are connected to his chest, and his chest and hips drive the swing while maintaining his posture and his stability. Right side of the screen, we can see those hands now. You can see momentum of the turn is just kind of slowing down, but he is now driving with his lower body up into his golf ball. He struck that golf ball. Look at the club. The club's going to ride right up that plane line to a T. It's going to come out on that lower plane line. So this is what matters. As long as that club is traveling on that plane line from prior to impact, post-impact, you're going to hit the ball pretty well. And as we follow through, we can see the hands are now coming up that top plane line, just like a T again. And this is why he's able to strike the golf ball with such consistent power. Even though he is in his 50s, he can still hit it pretty far. Left side of the screen, we see that release. Look at those right hands really coming over, and as he's still in his posture, you can see that spine angle is still tilted down, which allowed his hands to travel a little bit higher, increasing his launch angle, decreasing the spin rate, getting to the left side nice and naturally, follows through, everything is balanced. So we see when he finishes, his hands are still connected to his body. So this is a unique swing. It is a timeless swing. It has worked for him countless years, and it will work for him for countless more years. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did like this, if you learned something from this, hit that like and subscribe. It helps me grow and educate more people. And remember, don't fall for the gimmicks, don't fall for modalities. As long as your body is athletic, your hands and arms will learn around that athletic motion. So if you have trouble turning, you're probably not flexible enough. John Daly has no issue with this. Hope that helps you. I'll see you next time. Fairways and greens.